Welcome to the bunker.
Preppers, survivalists, off-gridders, homesteaders, and the like. Welcome to Top's Bunker, a podcast for preppers. Email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Top's Bunker podcast channel, and of course X and Instagram. Please check the show notes in your podcast player for a link to help support the show. There you'll find valuable products and gear and extra info on this episode. We'd love for you to go over to the Top's Bunker podcast channel on YouTube and click the subscribe button. We're trying to grow that channel and could really use your support. You can listen to the podcast episodes and check out some videos as well. No membership is required, 100% free. All we ask is that you subscribe to the channel. Also, please visit and join Top's Bunker Facebook group. You'll love the interaction with other preppers and like-minded folks. I want to thank y'all for joining us. We got a great show for you. We have a very special guest joining us tonight. His name is TJ Morris. You know him as Bear from the hugely popular Bear Independent on YouTube and your favorite podcatchers. TJ was on with us before, episode 230, Civil War 2.0 with Bear Independent. If you haven't listened to that episode, we urge you to go back and listen. It was epic. Some of TJ's accomplishments include CEO and founder of Refuge Medical, president of Grindstone Ministries, president of Kaleb House, founder, director, and CEO of Bear Independent. You can find him on the Bear Independent YouTube channel and the Bear Independent podcast. Tonight, Bear is going to take us on a deep dive into training with the Refuge Education Center's widely diverse and intensive training courses taking place all year long in the mountains of Northeast Oklahoma. That being said, this is Bear we're talking about. And with all the things going on right now in the world, I'm thinking that staying on topic might be a challenge. You do not want to miss this one, and without further ado, let's welcome TJ Morris, a.k.a. Bear Independent.
Hey, well, I'd like to add that he's also got a new title. He is the mayor of the internet.
That is correct.
What?
Duly elected mayor of the internet. I'd like to give a special shout out to all of my constituents. Love you, appreciate you. Taxes
That's
are going down. Yeah, yep.
I didn't even know there was an election.
Yeah, you know, you should be involved in local politics. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be back. This should be fun.
Yeah, first time you were on was great. We got some great feedback from that show. I think it was epic, a lot of fun. I've actually gone back and listened to it a couple times. So, where do you want to start tonight? First of all, hold on. I know you're like an extremely busy guy. I just want to ask before we get started and all the other stuff. How do you keep it going? I mean, how do you do it all? I mean, without getting burned out, without getting, just burned out on it all. And you know what? How long can you keep it up?
Great question. My assistant is holding up a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue from across the room. So that's probably an indicator. I have a crippling caffeine and nicotine addiction, so that's a contributing factor. But, here's the thing. The first thing is there's the assumption that I don't get burnout, and I do. I'm incredibly stubborn, and that helps a lot. I also have somewhere on any given day, somewhere around 100 people that ladder up to me in some capacity across what we call the enterprise between the businesses and the ministries. And so I have some excellent subordinate leadership, and I get a lot of borrowed credit for the work that other people do that nobody ever sees. So that's a huge part of it. I also don't sleep a lot, and I have entrepreneurial ADHD, and I have since I was about 17 years old. So I don't sit still very well. Me on vacation is kind of a nightmare. Somewhere around day 2 to 3, I've started 17 more companies and, bought domains. I own half of GoDaddy.com, and I'm always looking for the next thing, and I'm always looking at how to improve the current thing. I haven't really invented anything or revolutionized anything. I've just done a pretty good job at standing on the shoulders of the giants that have come before me to just try and make stuff better, just improve what already exists. And so, how do you do it all? I'm the last person on earth you should ask about work-life balance. I'm terrible at it, genuinely terrible. I just run from whatever's on fire to the next thing that's on fire while trying to make sure that literally and figuratively my house and the people I love inside of it are not on fire. So try to prioritize that. And then everything else is, my people have access to me somewhere around 5 a.m. in the morning to somewhere around 10 p.m. to midnight every day. And they can get a hold of me if they need me, and we just problem solve. So I like puzzles. I like problem solving. I like making things better. And I'll say this, along with this, is my goals are astronomical. And the fact that they're astronomical is what gets me out of bed in the morning. If I had mediocre goals, it would be very hard for me to stay motivated. And so I have some significant goals, whether that's with Refuge or Bear Independent or Kaleb House or Grindstone. And I can't stay in bed. I can't disengage, even when I'm overwhelmed or emotionally exhausted or whatever it is. I'll take some time for me, maybe a day, but I don't sit still well anyway. And then when the gravitas of what it is that I'm aiming to do kicks in, I have to re-engage. And so I've figured out how to biohack my own physiology and psychology to make sure I do the things that I say that I'm going to do.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, lots of coffee and go-getter attitude, but that was a great answer, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. I feel very underwhelmed with my life right now.
Hey, nobody should be me. All right. One is enough. And on the entrepreneurial side of things, like, oh my gosh, Bear, you got 5 companies and 2 ministries. How do I do that? Don't do that. Nobody should do that. I'm insane. Okay. Pick a thing and do that. And you should do that thing until it produces so much of a surplus, so much excess revenue that you can use that to bootstrap the next thing. And if there doesn't have to be a next thing, you could just do one thing and do it well your whole life. I'm just insane. So I got 7 things.
You got a pretty good team, I'm sure, working behind you as well. It's like kind of, I'm not going to compare anybody to anybody, but, like our current president, he has accomplished massive things, but he didn't really accomplish massive things. He made sure other people accomplished massive things.
So that's the job of the leader. That's the job of the CEO, right? Is to cast the vision and then set and manage expectations, right? And so you basically say, all right, team, we're headed this way. Then leaders lead from the front. And so that you head that way. And then they come with you. And they're like, what are we doing, boss? It's like, I don't know. We're going to make this thing happen. They're like, but what even is the thing? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, what should I do? Let's start figuring it out. And so what a lot of people underestimate is momentum. I'm really good at momentum because I never stop moving. I'm not always great at communicating what the vision looks like to my teammates and my subordinates. A great example is Kaleb House. We're going to build this ministry. We're going to rescue and rehabilitate widows and orphans. They're like, great, where? I don't know. Let's buy some land. What kind of land? I don't know. Shit we can afford. Well, what are we going to do there? We'll build some houses. What kind of houses? I don't know. The kind of houses you could fit people in. Do you have any specifications? No, I have no idea what that is. We should figure that out. And so, I've been saying this phrase a lot lately. I've never let the fact that I don't know what I'm doing keep me from doing it. And we just figure it out. And I do have awesome teams, and it's how I'm able to do all the things that I do every day.
And what do you have going on right now? I mean, is anything new?
Oh, buddy. Let's just say if somebody has the Google machine, they could look up the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency MASH program, MASH, Medics Autonomously Stopping Hemorrhage, and everything beyond that is classified. But we are heavily engaged in getting that off the ground for the benefit of the Department of Defense, and more importantly, not the nameless, faceless Department of Defense, but the frontline combatants that are going to be out there fighting large-scale combat operations in World War III. And our entire goal is to triple the survivability of the modern warfighter in large-scale combat operations.
You're hoping to get in with DARPA?
I'm not hoping to get in, buddy.
He's in. He is in.
Dude, we gotta talk about stuff. Like off air. I gotta, there's things I need to know that DARPA knows. I heard that one of the DARPA CEO people say, or somebody at high up, they said there's difficult and then there's DARPA difficult. I think that's how he put it.
DARPA hard.
There's DARPA, yeah. There's hard work and then there's hard challenges and then there's DARPA hard.
Yep.
Are you fitting into that?
We are becoming a plug-and-play provider for DARPA hard solution.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
It's humbling. I got a phone call out of the blue from a guy, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to jump on this Zoom call." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know." He's like, "Great, I'll send you the link." I was like, "I don't know." He's like, and I said, "Yeah, okay, fine. You can email it to me." He goes, "Oh, I already have your email." Great. Open the email, jump on a 5-hour long Zoom call, 184 people on that call.
Oh,
and I didn't realize it. I was like, why the hell are we on this call, man? And somewhere about halfway through the call, it clicked. Everybody on this call's a nerd. I don't think these people have ever seen blood before. Like, oh, I get it now. Now I know why we're on the call. And so one of the things I will say about DARPA is they are hardcore on what they call teaming. And so what they do is they get as many subject matter experts as possible, put them in a literal room or a virtual room and say, here's the DARPA hard problem, figure it out. And then you let us know what your team looks like. And then we will apply that to the problem set in order to solve the problem. And it's pretty freaking cool, honestly.
Yeah, man, that's good. They're scary.
Uh-huh.
But then again, I only know what I see on, YouTube and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know what DARPA's really like, but I've seen some of the stuff that they allow us to see. It's pretty heavy.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. One of the reasons I like working with them is because I like being in their intelligence flow. So there's benefits for me too. But then there's plenty of stuff that they're working on ideologically. I'm like, that's not a no, that's a hell no. Like, absolutely not. That shit is egregious and weird. I'm not interested. DARPA's BTO, which is the Biological Technology Office, you can sign up for their email blast. They just had an email that went out recently. One of the things that a project that they are working on is biological computing. So it's basically turning people into computers. And the reason for that is that your brain runs on 5 watts of direct current. Commensurate computing power currently, using solid state computing and AI, GPUs, all that, would take 2.6 million watts of AC power. So 5 watts or 2.6 million. In other words, we human beings are incredibly efficient and I believe intelligently designed. So DARPA's looking at that. You see all these data centers going up, demands for water and electricity and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, how do we use people as computers? I'm not interested in playing those games, if that makes sense.
Man, that's crazy. Or you know what? And when you said that, I was thinking, or turning computers into people.
Yeah, that's
man.
Correct. That's the other half of the equation, right? So they're definitely working on cutting edge stuff, and not everything that they work on is successful, but they do have a deep bank of lessons learned going back a long ways. And like I said, our interest and our purview here is my goal is to triple the survivability of frontline combatants in large scale combat operations. And that's curing for all kinds of things, including a lack of telemedicine and a lack of casualty evacuation, which actually goes back to the concept of training. It doesn't surprise me that last time we were talking about World War III, and now we're talking about the importance of having skills and training. One kind of dovetails into the other. And you fight with what you brought. And there's a lot of people that have the kit that have, they possess the kit, but they don't actually have any proficiency with the kit. And so, you see all the time people with, just look at the firearms industry, right? Or the 2A community, as they call it. And people are slobbering over, an $8,000 AR-15. thinking that that's going to fix the fact that they have a lack of fundamentals. That doesn't fix anything. You just need more reps. You need more training. You need to be able to actually use the platform. We were out shooting. We're doing some long range shooting with Buddy here recently, and I had one of my guys got behind a Mossberg Patriot in 308 Winchester, a $400 gun, and was hitting steel at 800 yards. And the farthest he'd ever shot before that day was 200 yards. And he was banging steel at 800 with a $400 rifle. It wasn't an accuracy international L86A. It wasn't none of that, right? It wasn't a Remington 700 Accurized, an M24, an M40 platform, or M110 SAS. It was a $400 Mossberg Patriot with primary arms glass on top of it, a 4-14, and he was just banging steel at 800. That's training. That's, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian, if that makes sense.
Exactly. People don't understand that. They buy all the things and they think that things are going to save them, but it's the skills and the non-tangibles you gather along your journey with whatever it is you're trying to master. That's what saves the day.
I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to become loot drops, and I've got a heart for the good people. There's good people out there that, for whatever reason, are unable to or unaware of, the shifting of the Overton window. Maybe they've been propagandized. Maybe they're just so busy running on the hamster wheel of life that they don't have the resources, the brain power to dedicate to actually analyzing the situation. But it gets worse by the day. As of the time of recording, I just did a 1 hour long whiteboard yesterday, just talking about the strategic implications of the Gay of Hormuz, and how that actually affects Americans here at home. And most people don't have an hour,
That was good, by the way. It was very insightful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I highly suggest all of our listeners go watch that YouTube that he had yesterday. It's very enlightening and right along the same lines of everything we've been talking about over and over.
Was it live?
Yeah, it was live. Yep. Whiteboard, semicolon, capitulation in World War III is what it's called.
Was that on your Patreon or was it?
It was public. It's on YouTube. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Bear Independent YouTube channel. But,
yes,
it's a key component of survivability is training, right? And so, a lot of times when people think training, they think firearms, which is great. I mean, I got a Glock on my hip right now and 2 reloads on me because.
Oh, yeah, me too.
What about, can you make a fire? Do you know what shelter is? Do you know how to stay warm? Just thermoregulate. What's that dude, Cody Lundeen, 98.6, The Fine Art of Keeping Your Ass Alive? That whole book, that whole book is priceless. And it's all predicated on thermoregulation, man. And if you know what you're doing, you can do that with a sheet of plastic and a Bic lighter. And that's training. I've got a heart for the good people, but I get pissed when I see factory farmed humans, they've never been outside and their trucks have never been off of concrete and the front yard is manicured and everything, comes in a neat little box on the porch that they open up with a kitchen knife at the end of the day after they get done with their 9 to 5. And it's like, you are a factory farmed human. Go get dirt underneath your nails. Breathe real air. Go move your body. Go outside. We are solar powered creatures, man. You're supposed to be outside. Get a suntan. Go do stuff. And I understand that it's challenging to prioritize the time, but you get 2 arguments when it comes to training. One is time and the other is money, right? Which are our 2 most precious resources. Well, it costs nothing to just go outside. You can get a shower curtain and make a serviceable shelter out of a shower curtain. It's already in your house. You probably have a Bic lighter somewhere or a book of matches. Just go practice. Just thermoregulation because it matters. And that goes back to the Overton window. The average American human being can't fathom a situation where a shower curtain and a book of matches is going to be necessary in order to create shelter for thermal regulation so that they don't die. And the gap in between their normal everyday experience and a situation where they would actually need to thermoregulate in that capacity is so wide that it becomes so uncomfortable that they choose not to think about it. And unfortunately, those people are more likely to get acted upon than to have the opportunity to act. They will become casualties in whatever it is that comes next. And that breaks my heart. And I'm just trying to wake those people up, shake them out of their little daydream that they're in and say, hey, this is an extremely fragile situation that we live in. We are the historical statistical anomaly right now. Generally speaking, the earth is covered with warfare and famine and plague and disease. Generally speaking, life existence is a game of resources. And if you don't get real good at acquiring and managing resources right now, man, your lineage may not continue beyond you. This is a real polite way of saying you're going to fucking die.
Yeah. Darwinism.
Darwinism. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little deep there.
Well, every major superpower in history has fallen except the United States,
So far.
historically speaking. So, I mean, you count your blessings at this point.
Have you ever read The Fate of Empires by Sir John Glubb?
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah. Great book. Well, it depends on how you look at it, if it's great or not. But yeah, kind of troubling.
Yeah, what I like about it, buddy, is it's a statistical analysis of the age of empires. And empires are on average 250 years old, and they go through a predetermined set of stages, right? And so, based upon that book, we are an end stage empire, and the average age of an empire is 250 years. This July 4th, what anniversary of the United States of America is it?
250.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now I'm an American. I like it here, right? Like I grew up on G.I. Joe and John Rambo and Wolverines and M81 Woodland. Like
Oh, yeah.
that is my jam, right? Rocky 4 when he beats up the Russian guy. Like I've been successfully propagandized. I like it here.
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies, right? Poor Apollo Creed, man. You're like, yo,
Right?
that's Carl Weathers. You can't do him like that. So, you know, so like it worked. Like the propaganda worked. And man, I'm super thankful I don't live in the South Sudan or anywhere else, right? And I'm glad I have the opportunity to raise my family here. But empires die. The key takeaway there is that we don't want to die with the empire. So the Roman Empire lasted 750 years, but it was three distinct 250-year periods. There is no longer a Roman Empire, but there are still Romans.
Mm-hmm.
And so the American Empire, it's entirely likely that the American Empire is coming to a close, right? And we're going to see this contest for global power between China and the United States of America as early as 2027, which is not that far away. And we're talking 8 months, 8 months from where we are right now, if not sooner. You know, before we even get into the war with Iran, that's a proxy war between China and the United States, et cetera, et cetera. The American empire is going to be faced with one of two options here: collapse or rise from the ashes like the phoenix. And it's statistically rare that an empire continues into a second 250-year phase. I hope that happens, but hope is not a method. Hope is not a strategy. And so I've got to be prepared to weather the storm, whatever it is that comes next, that even if the American empire fails, if the American empire dies and we become something other than we are right now, my progeny, my legacy lives on. There's no more Roman Empire, but there are still Romans.
Hopefully the Romans own Canada, Greenland, and Venezuela. That'd be nice.
Don't forget Cuba. Don't forget Cuba.
Cuba's interesting, man. That whole Caribbean Sea, there's a lot that's happening there as far as assets and ship movement and personnel and, you know, SIGINT capabilities that is not being reported at all. But, you know, especially in Central America, South America, the United States is not the only global superpower that has interests in those regions. And so, you know, this whole Venezuela thing kind of fell apart as far as being able to extract the oil from Venezuela, use that to prop up the petrodollar, which is really a move to offset the hyperinflation that our currency is currently experiencing. and refill the strategic petroleum reserve so we can perpetuate a war, preemptive war, half a world away, to be able to fuel our big gray ships and our airplanes and all of that. Well, that was all predicated on security guarantees from the Trump administration to the big oil companies. And we've been unable to assuage the fears of the oil companies sufficiently. So Venezuelan production hasn't come back online the way that it's supposed to, or the way that it was predicted that it would. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happening right now as far as the flow of oil is concerned in Indo-PACOM, Oz, other areas, CENTCOM, Indo-PACOM, et cetera, specifically with Russian oil and oil that's being transported on Russian tankers. And if I say the quiet part out loud, the men in black suits will come here and have a talk with me, and I don't want to do that. But just suffice to say that somehow, not all of the oil that's on Russian flagged vessels, which is allegedly they're supposed to be our enemies, not all of that oil is ending up to its final destination. Some of it's being sloughed off and being used elsewhere. That elsewhere that it's finding its way to may or may not include interests of the United States of America for the big gray ships and the airplanes and all of that, which is interesting because the large-scale strategic geopolitical, the hurdle in Ukraine right now is not the Russians and it's not the Americans, it's the Ukrainians and the Europeans. So as far as getting a peace deal there, part of why Trump has been talking about pulling out of NATO is not just economic, although that's certainly part of it. It's also because we'll just say Trump and Putin have had a deal worked out for a long time. And the Europeans and the Russians are going to have to learn to play together nicely. Economically, they both need each other, and they need each other from a demography standpoint. And it's been assessed that the EU, their military, could stand against the Russians, which have done a piss-poor job in Ukraine anyway. But the EU's military capability could stand against the Russians for somewhere between 3 and 6 months in the absence of the Americans. Great. Let them go to Kyiv. Let them fight the Russians. They're going to capitulate. They'll wave the white flag. They'll they'll come up with a peace deal. And then the Russians and the Europeans are going to have to play together. They need each other. They just don't like each other. And all of that is in exchange for when the United States of America goes to war against China and or China goes to war against the U.S., that Russia will sit on the sidelines with their intelligence, their geospatial, and their hypersonic missiles and not get involved. And so right now, hypothetically, these Russian-flagged oil tankers that are shipping oil in and around Indo-PACOM and CENTCOM, a certain percentage of the cargo that they're carrying is not arriving to its final destination. It's being siphoned off elsewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. As the United States is engaged in a proxy war with China and Iran. So it's spicy out there. And it goes back to the average American is completely clueless because they're getting their news from MSNBC or Fox or CNN or Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called now, without any real strategic analysis of why this matters for you. Because we've gotten, frankly, soft as Americans. We've been the go-to empire for 80 years. Since defeating the fascists in World War II, we've been the go-to. We're the big kid on the block. Well, the age of American imperialism has been over for approximately 20 years or so. You just had that Marine Corps general that came out and he said, China's not a near-peer threat. They're a peer threat. And in many cases, their capabilities exceed our own. As part of what's happened here in the Gay of Hormuz, which I said that inclusively, right? Because we keep talking about the Straits of Hormuz, but nobody talks about the Gays of Hormuz. So in the Gay of Hormuz, part of why we've had a ceasefire and a stand down there is not just to allow for Trump every Friday for the last 2 months to say, we got a peace deal, it's all figured out, everything's wonderful, to prop the stock market up. It's also because there's Chinese stealth fighters flying out of Pakistan. And they keep flying into that AO, and bad things keep happening to our hardware. And so the kill rate to one of their, I think it's J-30 fighters to our F-35s is 20 F-35s to one J-20. We don't have that many F-35s. We can't afford to lose them. We can't afford to replace them. And so that's all that leads into the concept of capitulation, which means we wave the white flag. We
Yeah,
have no option but to give up.
But we're both running on Gen 6 jets. I mean, you're saying that they're that far advanced than ours?
Yeah, the design of their engines alone, their planes are approximately 1/3 the weight, which means they can carry way more munitions. They're much more fuel efficient. They're way more maneuverable. And it's not just vector thrusting. It's not just flaps on the back of the engine, but they can actually move the engine inside of the cowling, inside of the nacelle. So the maneuverability, like I'm sure you've seen videos of like an F-22 turning on a dime or something like that. The maneuverability of their fighters puts ours to shame. And then they've designed their radars, or they've reversed engineered our F-35s, our F-22s. They've designed their advanced radars around our capabilities. So they can see us, but we can't see them. So it's not just a matter of, if you put the two of them in a dogfight, who wins? They're not getting into dogfights. They're going to launch an air-to-air missile from 18 miles away and just take us out of the sky.
You seen that new drone that they built? What was that out of? Was it Northrop? It's a brand new drone that fights alongside the fighters in the U.S.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
thing
the
is cool.
Wingman program. Yep.
Wingman program. Yeah.
Yep. So we actually, we being the United States of America Department of Defense, during the Maduro op, what was that, the 2nd of January this year? That was a cool operation. The D-boys went in there and did what they do, and that's, kudos to them. They're very good at that stuff. But we had over 100 aircraft as well in the skies during that time, including F-35s and F-22s running the Wingman program, which is awesome because they'd have 4 to 6 drones that they were directing, basically a flying computer running ATAC, just maneuvering their units for them, hitting targets in real time. So that's a super cool capability if the enemy can't see you. And so Venezuela at that time had older Chinese and Russian hardware, including radars. They couldn't see us. And so we suffer from this concept of like everything that's made in China is shit. No, they have multiple tiers to their economy and their manufacturing capability. Everything they sell to us is shit. They keep the good stuff for themselves. And for military aid, they give mid-tier stuff, older stuff, or sell older stuff to their Belt and Road Initiative partners around the globe. And so a lot was learned by both us and by China in Venezuela. And Venezuela is not the only contested country in South America. There's a lot going on south of the border as far as proxy wars and quiet power struggles between the Americans, the Chinese, and to a lesser extent, the Russians. So that's why you should be training. That's the topic for today, right?
Well, that brings a good point that, people don't understand that they need to educate themselves on, current events, do an area study and not just go to their echo chamber. A lot of people go, Fox News, and I'm gonna get all my news from Fox News because that's what I want to hear. And that's wrong. The wrong answer. I've been wanting to bring on somebody, couple different people I've reached out to come on and talk about their intelligence. They're intelligence analysts by trade, and they're all over the internet and stuff. But to have people come on and explain the importance of doing an area study or doing, just your own research to get ahead of the curve, so to speak, on things that might be coming up heading your way.
I agree with that completely. And I'd also say there's probably people who are listening right now driving down the road in a semi, driving 40, 60, 80 hours a week going, when the hell am I going to do an area study, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a group of neighbors that you can plug into in a mutual assistance capacity where you have somebody that can do an area study for the group and then you bring other skill sets to the table? And so, it's challenging when you're an army of one. You're in charge of everything, right? Your security and logistics and communications and intelligence and blah, 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 right? That's hard for one person to do. It's hard for a 12-man team to do. It gets more attainable as your numbers grow, right? Where you can start to assign sections to people. Hey, man, y'all are in charge of intelligence. Update that area study. Great. Y'all are in charge of transportation. Diesel prices are going up. Make sure we've got the barrels full. Blah, 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 right? You guys are in charge of agriculture. How much food do we have? Let's make more food. Wonderful. And that's just a gentle encouragement to everybody who's listening that whether you have a formalized mutual assistance group or you just have some neighbors that are trustworthy, it's a really good time to touch antennas with your people and say, hey, do we have an area study? What's an area study? Oh, okay. Let's hop on YouTube, put in area study in the search bar, watch some videos, one of which it'll pop up is mine. And then I would also say when we talk about area studies, start close to your house. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. They zoom all the way out and they're like, there's a nuclear reactor 180 miles from my house. Like, yup, that's a thing. Knowing which direction the prevailing winds come from is a thing. I would like to know, are there dope fiends that live 0.8 of a mile away? Because I'm probably going to have to fight those dudes, right?
Right. That's right.
Where are my pinch points? What's access and egress look like? Do I have access to water? What are my lines of drift? Where's the improved, unimproved, and the trails in my area? Where do people move? How do people move? All that stuff. The guy on the other side of that field over there that's got 40 head of cattle and he's in his early 70s with his wife. What's the likelihood that he can continue to run all those cattle by himself if something comes up? Low likelihood. Well, I should probably be friends with him and we can exchange labor for ribeye. Yo, I'm into that. That sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
How do
That
we
sounds
be
delicious.
friends? Yeah, exactly. Right. And so when you start your area study, start close to your house and then you build in concentric circles out from there. And when that first layer of that area study should be as far as you can reasonably move in a 12-hour period. So if that's 10 miles, you go 10 miles out from your house because it's 10 miles there, 10 miles back. That gives you a 24-hour radius around your house. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of
You're,
sense.
you're talking on foot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then you build out from there.
Okay. So how do we train for that?
Bro, eat meat, lift heavy shit, and go outside with a rucksack. Like, do push-ups.
Do hard things.
Excuses are lies. Move your body.
Damn, I thought you were going to say there was a pill or something. I don't know.
that pill doesn't seem to be working out very good. It seems like a lot of people who took that pill ended up dead, and then a bunch of them ended up with like blue hair and liberal tendencies. So I'd be careful of the pills. It's basic stuff, man. And I'm no paragon of fitness, but when we start looking at stuff like that, it's like, can you carry just a day pack? Well, what should be in a day pack? A day's worth of stuff, man. It's that simple. That's why it's called a day pack. Water, probably a little bit of food, probably some toilet paper and some dude wipes, and then on your person, yeah, I've got ammunition and navigation and I've got some kind of light tool, some kind of headlamp, flashlight, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But start lightweight and just start walking with it. I mean, everybody's heard of GoRuck. They built a international brand around you should carry heavy shit while you're walking.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that hard, man. And then you'll get people who are like, well, I don't have a rucksack. What do I do? Yo, go to the dollar store, get a backpack, fill it with water bottles, and walk around. Like, it's not that hard. Do you have a shovel and dirt? Put dirt in the backpack. Like, it's humans were made to move. We're solar powered. Go outside, move your body. And then there's only a handful of metrics when it comes to rucking, which is moving your body on foot with weight on you. You can go faster, or you can go longer, or you can go heavier. Pick one metric
Or
and then change
up and
it.
down.
Yeah, you can change elevation, right? We've got a wilderness medicine class coming up here in about 10 days, and there's a change in elevation during the foot march in. And at the top of this hill, when we get students up to the top of this hill, and we're making them carry a 3-day operational load per the Marine Corps doctrine. And there's a whole terminal learning objective in that, right?
What's the weight on that?
Depends on who you are. And we allow students to bring rifles with chamber flags in them. And so last year when I taught that class, my total kit, including everything I needed to instruct for 3 days, was 73 pounds, including a rifle. So, that's pocket litter onto sleep kit, water. They got to carry a gallon of water with them at all times, blah, blah, blah. But it runs the gamut from 50 pounds to 75 pounds, depending on the student. So they get to the top of this hill and they're dying, just dying, sucking wind, and everybody's red-faced and doubled over. And one of my favorite questions is, okay, who wants to go fight the government right now? And everybody looks at like, you asshole, how dare you? But it proves the point, right? It's easy to talk a whole bunch of shit. It's much harder to do stuff. And that, again, there's that gap in between perception and reality where people will acquire stuff thinking that perception equates to proficiency or possession equates to proficiency, and it does not. It's real basic stuff. One of my favorite rucks is a military surplus Molly 2 that I bought for $20 at a Milsurp store. It's a piece of shit, but it only cost me $20, and I can throw 80 pounds worth of stuff in there and it's fine. But moving with 80 pounds worth of stuff in that rucksack is a whole different ballgame. And people, they have mental assent to the idea that I can, but when it comes time to do it, you find out real quick perception is way different than reality. And it's little things like, do you even know foot care? Because you could walk for a day, but can you walk for 2 days, 3 days, a week? Not if you don't know foot care, not if your feet aren't hardened, your feet aren't broken in, you don't have good socks, but all those little things that you could make 1,000 hours worth of YouTube content around, or consume 1,000 hours worth of YouTube content around, or you could just put a backpack on and go for a walk and learn 100 things in an hour. And so you can sift pretty easily the people that are serious about surviving what's coming and the people who aren't, because the people who are serious to one degree or another are out there what we call doing the things. They're actually training by whatever metric you want to use, whether that's dry fire or live fire at the range or TCCC or prolonged field care or rucking or whatever it is. They're doing stuff to garner the skills now. And I think in the age that we live in, the commoditization of information has caused a lot of people to think that they're smarter and more capable than they really are. And that's not the case, because information isn't knowledge. Knowledge is information that's been operationalized that I can do without thinking about it. And there's a wide gap in between those two things. And I think a lot of people are going to get caught with their pants down when things go sideways.
That's a great point right there.
I'm curious, what's the incline on that hill that you had them climb up right in the beginning?
Shit, I don't know. It's about a 40
Are we talking
degree.
steep where they got to use their hands and feet?
We're not quite to hands and knees, but okay. You can walk up it, but you're leaning forward significantly.
Gotcha. So I guess my question would be then, to what end? I mean, what's the objective for you guys as trainers of having the group do that right at the beginning?
Well, first of all, it's the topography. I want to get them deep enough inside of the property that we're working on that we're by ourselves. And so we're blessed that we've got about a 12,000 acre living room that we get to play in, which is awesome. That's just us out there doing what we do. And because of the way the topography is and where I like to teach, I want them to make camp up on the ridge line, not down in the valley, for myriad different reasons, right? High ground wins. Well, we got to get to the high ground. But it also, day one, is just setting the tone. And I can find out real quickly who my good students are going to be, who my problem students are, who it is that has a pre-existing medical condition but lied about it or didn't want to tell the instructors or whatever it might be. It's a very quick sift. And you can see the people, we got 3 rules at Refuge Medical: no whining, no quitting, no dying. Because if you whine, you're going to want to quit. And if you quit, you're going to die. So, and those rules were developed for me because I like whining. I sure like thinking about quitting sometimes. I'm just not allowed to. That goes back to the opening question that you had, right? And so I want to see who is it that has already talked themselves out of their ability to perform over the next 3 days. And we're half an hour in. I'd need to keep an eye on them. They actually need an instructor to come alongside them and coach them through this. So, and we have them. They get to the top of the hill, they drop rocks, take a knee, drink water. We have a little block of instruction right there to let everybody catch their breath, and then we step off from there and go make camp. But at the end of the class, the evening of day 3, one of the TLOs
That's when you bring the truck of ice cream out, right?
we actually have a catered meal at the bottom of the ridge.
I was joking, but damn. Okay.
Straight up, man. Like straight up, man. We had cowboy ribeyes this last time. Oh, it was awesome, right? So you get back down off the ridge, you're sweaty, you're nasty, the whole nine, man. There's cold drinks, there's beer, the grill's going. It's like, you did it. High fives, everybody. Good job. But when they get the end of day 3, one of the things that we do is we audit all the equipment that we actually used. And everybody gets furious because 80% of the weight that they were carrying, they didn't actually use. And they're like, why the hell did you make me carry this around for 3 days? It's because now you understand what it is that you actually need. We lived in the woods for 3 days while receiving and giving instruction, right? And like, we made fire and we made water and we used the potty, and you slept and you're doing casualty carries and bushcrafting, all this stuff. We did all of this over the last 72 hours, and 80% of the weight that you were carrying, you never touched. So what is it that you actually need? And they get pissed. I believe strongly in pain-based anchoring when it comes to teaching. They get pissed and then they realize and go, all right. So instead of carrying 60 pounds worth of stuff, I could have carried probably 15, maybe 20 pounds worth of stuff plus water, and I would have been good for 3 days. Which would I rather carry? A 20-pound backpack's nothing. A 60-pound backpack plus all the other shit that I got on, and that's weight. So it's a TLO. It's a terminal learning objective, and that's done intentionally. Yeah.
It's a hard lesson, but you know what? In most cases, I'm probably guilty of this. You wouldn't know unless you went through that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't know that about yourself unless you went through it yourself and did it.
100%.
That's exactly right. Yep.
But it goes back to possession does not equate to proficiency. It goes back to the $8,000 AR-15 instead of fundamentals, right? It's not, it's the Indian, not the arrow. Skills weigh nothing and they go with you everywhere. And once you start to understand the concepts or the fundamentals, it doesn't matter anymore. The gear, the equipment doesn't matter anymore as long as it's serviceable. I don't care who made it or how much it cost, or, I saw this cool Instagram post where all the autistic Flectarn nerds were, drooling over this piece of kit. I don't care. Does it work or does it not work? Did I use it, right? And what's the right tool for the job? I don't need to carry a folding saw and an axe and a fixed blade knife and a pocket knife and my Rambo knife. That's 5 cutting tools. I don't need to carry 5 cutting tools for 3 days. That's like 8 pounds of weight. For what? That's a gallon of water. Which would I rather have? Give me a Mora knife and a gallon jug full of water. The Mora knife is not full tang. You can't baton with it. What are you batoning for? Why am I baton? I don't give a shit. I'm not trying to build a log cabin. I'm only here for 3 days.
Right. Gotta make fire.
I'm batoning because I've watched all these YouTube videos of these people that are getting paid to sponsor a product, batoning wood, talking about how cool it is to baton wood, when really what I'm going to do with this knife is clean my fingernails, open plastic packaging, and probably make some notches for a little bit of bushcraft and maybe strike a ferro rod, maybe. And then wood processing. Get stuff that's about as big around as your thumb, maybe slightly larger. Bend it over your knee. If it doesn't snap, it's too wet to burn. If it snaps, burn it like that. I don't need to baton. So, but, I can carry a knife that weighs 8 ounces and costs still to this day $15 from Jeff Bezos on Amazon, and a gallon jug of water. And I'm 40% of my 5 C's of survival right there, and 95% of my weight is water. But that's not sexy. You can't make Instagram posts and product reviews on that shit. It doesn't get clicks and likes, and it's not part of the $1 billion survival industry. And so people buy a bunch of stuff that they don't know how to use, and then they throw it in a bag that weighs 60, 70, 80 pounds. I was at a prepper meetup. There's a guy that had an inch bag. I'm never coming home bag. He was not a big guy. His inch bag, they were putting bags on scales just to see what it weighed. His inch bag was 108 pounds.
Oh God.
What?
Wow.
I said, buddy, in all due respect, you are never coming home again. You're going to die.
Yeah.
You're going to turn an ankle and die. You will lay there and starve to death. So, but that's because he was carrying way, way too much shit. And that even goes back to the mindset of the modern American of us we need to get a little bit harder and learn to do without a little bit and voluntarily engage in hardship, because hardship's going to find us one way or another. I would rather voluntarily engage with it now than get ambushed by it later.
Well, and you have the opportunity to go out and do hard things and actually suffer a little bit at a time right now. When the balloon goes up, then it's going to be suffering. Hopefully it won't be, but more than likely it'll be suffering. You'll jump in with both feet, and it's just not going to be something that most people are going to be able to stand at all, let alone survive. So
It's a great word, buddy. The stress inoculation aspect of it, right? Yeah, let's get bite-sized pieces of it now before I've got to try and choke this thing down whole. You're exactly correct, man. You're exactly correct. And
going back to my reconnaissance days, man, one of the takeaways I can look back at those 10 years I was in reconnaissance or more. We had this mantra that we fought light, we freeze at night. We didn't carry a lot of stuff. I carried ammo and water and a poncho, maybe a way to, just small little things that are for survival purposes. But I would rather have ammo and water for survivability and be very uncomfortable if I had to. And I froze my ass off several times. I got really hot. I've been thirsty. I've been all of it. But today I don't like to do those things, but I have to force myself into getting out of my comfort zone and do things because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I did that before. I'm fine. But I realized going camping just for a weekend, about the second night, I'm like, I hate this shit. I really do. That's why I got out of the army. I had enough of that shit. But then after, the third day or whatever, I'm like, you know what, this ain't so bad. But that people just have to go out there and do the hard things and inoculate themselves into it.
Well, so a couple of things there. Number one, the brain quits when the body's half done. And so if you just know that about people, that the brain quits when the body's half done, you still on half a tank when the brain has decided, I can't do it. I can't do this one more moment. I can't take one more step. That's what 50% feels like. Okay. And then to that point, there's a huge gap in between I'm comfortable and I'm going to die physiologically. Right. So, right, travel light, freeze at night. Yeah, you're clearly still alive. You were uncomfortable, but you didn't die. And so that goes back to this concept of people need to voluntarily engage with hardship, be uncomfortable voluntarily, because you can be really cold all night and not die. You can be really hot all day and not die, as long as you understand how to keep a body alive. We did a bug out bag exercise here a couple years ago, and we had, 30 some people up on the side of a mountain. And it was a cold, rainy afternoon going into the night. And a brother of mine and myself, I was like, hey, man, let's go out there. We'll be the morale fairies. And he's like, okay, cool. And so we filled our rucks with like candy bars and instant coffee and a couple of spare whoobies in case anybody was cold. And we're like, they're over here on the map. We'll march in this way and we'll go and we'll link up with them. We'll help everybody have a wonderful evening. We got protein bars and cans full of snuff. Like, this is going to be great. We get about 3 hours into this little land movement, realized that the maps that we had looked at had been taken aerial photography in the summer. And what we thought was a road was actually a dry creek bed. And that shit was filled with freezing cold water. And so anyway, there we were about 3 a.m. stumbling into camp, soaking wet, And I laid a poncho down, I laid a Mylar blanket down, I laid a whoopee down, rolled up, literally fell asleep on top of a rock, woke up a few hours later, cold, wet, miserable, shouldered our rucks, and we all marched out together. I'm not dead. It didn't kill me. And this is my second point. But if you go back and think about your reconnaissance days and all the stuff you did in the Army that sucked, right? I bet some of your best memories are in the suck with your bros doing things that are just ludicrous. And it becomes fun, right? And you learn about yourself. It's like, oh, that didn't kill me. I wonder if I could do more. I wonder if I could do more. And then you're growing stronger at the same time that tolerance for hardship is shifting in your favor. And it actually becomes enjoyable. It just takes, my dad told me when I was a kid, he said, son, you can do anything you want to do. It just takes one word. And that word is start. You just need to start. Just start moving. Just start training. Just start doing the things. 21 days to make a habit. Before you know it, it's just part of who you are. It's just a thing that you do.
Great advice right there.
I thought you were going to say when you got up to the top of the hill that they were all comfortable sitting there eating food and hanging out. And
no, in different classes, we actually ambush them there. It's fun.
So talk about your training courses and things and how people can find out about them.
So yeah, I've got Bear Independent YouTube channel and Patreon. We're actually running it's a 50% off code 50 FIFTY on Patreon right now for your first month. Just hop on Patreon, search Bear Independent. Best information, worst production value on planet Earth. We strive for value there. And then Refuge Medical, REFUGE Medical. It's not Refugee Medical. We're not displaced, desperate peoples. RefugeMedical.com. Man, we are in American manufacturing. We're not a kitting company. I don't buy other people's stuff, throw them in a bag, and then resell it to you. We make stuff, and we guarantee that stuff forever. I literally have stuff in South America being jumped out of airplanes this very moment just to pressure test it to make sure that it works. Got some cool guys down there doing the things with the unit. I'm like, hey, take this with you, chuck it out of an airplane, tell me what happens. And so our whole premise has been since jump, I started this company in my barn almost 7 years ago now. If it's good enough for special forces, if it's good enough for Navy SEALs, if they're buying it and trusting their life to it, it's probably good enough for your minivan or your work truck or like your home office, it'll work. And so that's what we do at Refuge Medical. If you need Band-Aids, I'm probably not your guy. But if you want to stay alive during a traumatic event, you need a trauma first aid kit. And there's nobody better than what we do at Refuge Medical. When we're not busy doing all that stuff that we just talked about, we also train people with Refuge Medical. We've got an entire training staff. Buddies come out with us on many an occasion and helped us shoot cops and blow up students and just had a blast.
Oh yeah.
Had a blast. And so we
Always
put
fun.
on public and private classes for everybody from literally grandmas to literally Navy SEALs, everything in between. Our go-to is pre-hospital trauma medicine. That's what we do, especially on the civilian side. So what do I do in between the motor vehicle accident and the ambulance arriving, or the school shooting or workplace violence, or this, catastrophic event at home, and until help arrives, and in a trauma setting, which means critical bleeding, depending on which white paper you read, somewhere between 75 and 90% of trauma casualties are dead by the time they reach the hospital. And that's the statistic I want to affect. I want to keep as many good people alive as possible. And so we take the March algorithm from TCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, push it over to the civilian side, TECC, and we teach that to civilians. We teach TCC to DOD and LEO personnel, and we have a blast doing it. It's a lot of fun. And so all those classes and dates are on the website at refugemedical.com. And when we're not busy doing that, we do bad shit to bad people and forsake not the widow and orphan with Kaleb House. We're in the counter-trafficking space. Unlike a lot of people, we actually do stuff. We don't just talk about it. So that's Kaleb with a K, kalebhouse.org. And then when we're not doing that, we punch tornadoes in the face with Ministries.com, which is our other ministry, do pro bono disaster relief. So And if you just hop on the Bear Independent YouTube channel and stick around for more than a day, like, you'll learn more about all of those things.
Yeah, you were just in the Oklahoma with those tornadoes that came through there. Was it Enid or
Enid, Oklahoma. We
yeah,
were just out there. Had a whole neighborhood to ourselves.
they got hit hard.
Yeah, it was a good deployment. I cut one of the sketchiest trees I have ever cut in 27 years of professionally felling timber. The short side of the stump was 44 inches. The long side was 64 inches. A big cottonwood that got destroyed by the storm. It was a blast.
Right.
I love it. I love it. So, if your love language is chainsaws and hydraulic fluid and diesel fuel, then like Grindstone Ministries is for you. That's what we do.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. Again.
Yeah, man. Do the things, like, wherever you're at right now. The best piece of advice that I give to anybody is, on your lunch break or whatever in the evening, just take 15 minutes and write out what you think your actual capabilities are. And then ask yourself honestly, can I actually do that? And if the answer is no, you've just identified a gap and you need to start training to fill those gaps. That's it. And the only pressure and accountability is yourself and your piece of paper that you made. You fight with what you brought. You do not rise to your level of expectation. You fall to your level of training. And if you've had no training or you haven't trained recently, that's what you're fighting with. And that's not very good.
All right, Bear, thank you so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate you. You're definitely going to come back on again and tell us all about the backdoor stuff with DARPA. I want to know I want to know everything. I want to know the aliens and the spaceships and the robots and the AI, all of it.
It's all true. Every bit of it's true. We're probably going to die if we're being perfectly honest. Thanks for having me, guys. You guys are awesome.
Once again, another great episode with TJ. I'll tell you what, Bear Independent, man, awesome. You got to go check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you already have. So much to learn, so much to go through, so much to think about on Bear Independent. There is the Bear Independent YouTube channel and Bear Independent podcast. You definitely want to check that out. Also, head over to Refuge Medical and check out what they've got. Bear's really got something going on there. Anyway, thank you guys so much. What a great episode. Stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.
But here's what you should know about winning before you chase it. Winning's not loyal to you. It doesn't care about you. Winning doesn't care how sore you are. Winning doesn't care how much sleep you get. Winning doesn't care how hard you work at times. And sometimes a guy doesn't outwork you and he still wins. It isn't fair, man. Sometimes there is no justice. Winning requires all of you and then more, and it promises you nothing. It's a mastermind of creating fear and doubt in your mind. It causes setback after setback. So the question is about winning. Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? And why chase this thing called winning? Because the only thing that's guaranteed in life, if you don't chase it, is losing.